In a very comprehensive and a detailed interview to Swaraj magazine, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, perhaps for the first time, took on the Grand Alliance head-on, making it clear than ever that for the opposition, their only agenda for the 2019 polls is removal of Modi. In fact, Prime Minister has also gone on to mock their ambition and has said that hatred for Modi is the sole gluing force for the opposition. Prime Minister attacking Grand Alliance, taking, in fact, in an interview, detailed interview to the Swaraj magazine, this is for the first time that Prime Minister has been very, very vocal about the intent and the agenda of the Grand Alliance and the opposition in particular, stating that the only agenda that the opposition has is to remove Modi. PM, in fact, is taking the combined opposition head-on, unsparing attack on Congress and other allies, and also he's warning in this interview that Congress is known to betray, so be aware. No Grand Alliance, just a grand race. That's what Prime Minister calls it, mocking the Grand Alliance, saying that for 2019, is not going to be actually about any other issues for the opposition, but only removal of Modi. Prime Minister has also declared in this interview 2019 is going to be about development. That is what is going to be the BJP's agenda, and that's going to be pitted against chaos. Chaos, referring and mocking to the opposition. And our executive editor is going to join us in a bit. Abhishek is going to join us in a bit to decode the underlying message as far as this very, very comprehensive and detailed interview, its timing, and when Prime Minister takes the Grand Alliance, in fact, there's the Grand Alliance saying that for the BJP, it's development, but for the opposition is nothing less than a chaos. Abhishek now is joining us in our Delhi studio. Abhishek, yes, Abhishek, over to you. The timings and the bigger message that the Prime Minister is trying to send across here. In fact, for the first time, Prime Minister has opened his silence on this so-called coming of various like-minded parties calling themselves Grand Alliance.
And you know, what is the platform of these like-minded parties, so-called like-minded parties, Sakal? It's secularism. We had Prime Minister going to Maghar, the place of birth and death of Kabir, and from there he spoke about secularism and what he understands of secularism. And now what he's saying in this interview is that it is not secularism that binds these parties together. It is anti-Modism that binds these parties together. And to that extent, there is no ideological glue which brings them together. So if you see, for example, Mamata Banerjee has her own prime ministerial ambitions. There would be Samajwadi Party which would think that if they can get maximum seats, they would be in a bargaining position. Mayawati obviously has made her mind clear that she is not going to have an alliance with the SP the way she had for Gorakhpur and Phulpur unless she gets X number of seats. Similarly, you can see there is no coming together. There is not going to be any coming together of Mamata Banerjee and the left. And within the left, there are, we know for a fact, there is this Sitaram Yechuri doctrine which wants an alliance with the Congress party, but then there is the Prakash Karat doctrine which is very clear that they don't want to have any truck with the Congress party. So this is essentially a situation where we have two Sharad Pawar and Sharad Yadav, both veterans, senior politicians who have in the last 1 week made it clear that Rahul Gandhi is not the prime ministerial candidate, or the race to who would be the prime minister is still open. So you can see the contradictions in these political parties which are trying to form this grand alliance in the backdrop of Karnataka verdict are too many. And essentially they are driven by individual ambitions, and that is why Prime Minister only underscored the difficulties that the Grand Alliance would face in coming together, in fact, and hence the only platform that the Grand Alliance can come on is anti-Modism, and that Prime Minister in the interview makes it clear only helps the BJP or him, because then they can posit anti-Modism versus the development plank on which the Prime Minister said in the interview that he intends to contest the election of 2019.
Yes. So when Prime Minister says, Abhishek, 2019 is going to be about development versus chaos, and perhaps this is exactly, you have decoded this chaos. But the question here is that, do you think now the entire Grand Alliance is staring at this big expose? Because can they really ride always high on anti-Modism being the 2019 plank? This cannot be an election issue.
Well, Sakal, so far as success of Grand Alliance or even in coming together of Grand Alliance is concerned, we have already seen it unraveling in Karnataka, for example, with the, difficulties in forming the cabinet after the initial oath-taking of the Chief Minister. The rest of the cabinet took more than a fortnight to be formed, and then we know that there are problems between ministers of the Congress and the JDS. And in the case of Uttar Pradesh, we have seen Mayawati has already made it known that she is going to decide how many seats she's going to contest. And we have Congress party which has said that they are not looking at any national alliance with a particular party, but only regional alliances, state-specific alliances. So, the confusion reigns amongst the ranks of the opposition. Yeah. And the cobbling together of Grand Alliance, this fantastic idea is essentially around defeat Modi, because ultimately it's a matter of survival for them. We have seen how Mayawati was reduced to 0 seats in Uttar Pradesh in the last Lok Sabha election, and she would be facing oblivion if that is repeated again in 2019. So essentially it's an issue of survival for many of these parties, because of which they are banding together, coming together, or thinking of coming together. Whether it actually happens or not, it remains to be seen. But the Prime Minister, by underscoring the glue which is going to bring them together, is essentially positing his development plank versus opportunism, versus anti-Modism, and that's where he leaves it for the people to decide.